In this video, we show the platform base being assembled and the final assembly of the candelabra.
So the next thing to make is the shelf piece, and then the base. This is going to be the shelf pieces where I have the four pieces come out, so they're going to be cut off of this. And I want them to be about a ½ inch thick when they're done, or a little over a ½ inch thick when they're done. So I'm going to make my cuts at 3/4. And what's going to happen when I run the saw blade through, if I run the saw blade on this side, I'll lose just that much material there. Then if I make my next one at the 1½ inch mark, and my saw blade's going to take out this much material here, and then the 2¼ mark. Now what I can go ahead and do, because this is about the same width as a saw blade, if I run this in here a little bit, I get to mark out where my saw blade's going to go. And that way, as I run the saw down through, I've got a nice straight line that it's going to ride in, so that I know that I get my saw blade to go through there pretty close to accurate. A little bit thick on this one, but I think we'll live with that. Now, the other thing that I've got to have is a center for my pieces out here. They're going to get made, so I need to go ahead and make myself a couple more of these 3/4 inch pieces, just so that I have a matching piece to the center as well. Now granted, I'm only going to have a little bit out here, but I need to have these nice and smooth anyways. These are not going to be so important, but the ones that are going to be the pieces that I'm going to use for my outsides, I need these outsides at least smoothed off a little bit before I... Okay, so if everything works correctly, this being squared off everywhere, this should follow this line down through here. Seems like there's a hole in there. That's okay. It's a design feature. So my next fun is that I have to make these square and glue them together so that I can have a center base, and then these will get cut to match into these on the corners so that I can have my outer 4 candlesticks stick out. So these have to be squared out first. So that's going to make this a lot smaller, so this will really come in a lot when I'm done. So it'll be more like that. So this is going to end up making about a 4-inch square with 2-inch squares out of these. So I'm taking off about 3/8 the first time, and then I'll go from there on how much more I take off to get these pieces squared out. The first step is just to make one single cut to get a start for squaring it out. This isn't quite wide enough to get over here to get this, so I'm using a block of wood here to get myself square, and I used the square to the blade to make sure that I was going to be square on my cut. Be able to make a 4-inch square piece that'll have a base come up through, so I can actually leave the hole in the center if I want. But I think I'm going to go ahead and square these off just a little bit more. Okay. I don't have to be perfect on all my angles, I just need a pair of them together that match up at 90, so that when I glue it together, it's all square. Now, okay, so now that we've got it together, seems to be pretty solid here, I'm going to slide it up through here to square off to this side, this edge, and then I'll take it to a kind of a final dimension with this to square everything out. So I'm going to do a little bit of cheating on getting my 90-degree angles on here by just running it through the blade to get one mark, and then coming back and using the 90 to get my other mark, and then running it back through the blade again. Okay, so I just have to trim my interior corners, but that gets me right up on there, and glue that together, and then I've got my outside pillars set up. And now it's time to do some gluing. I'm going to do a liberal application on here just because I want to make sure this gets filled really well. Okay, now I just gotta let some glue dry a little bit. Now for a bit of sanding to get this down to level. Let's see if I can get this to make a nice round edge on the top here, and then after running a little bit of a test on a test piece, it was yanking the wood out of my hand and ripping it up, so I'm doing the same pattern on both sides. So a little bit of sanding and it should be a nice platform. So this was set up with a 1/2 inch hole for this piece to fit onto these, so wherever I put my center marker, mark these out to stand up on here, I need to put a 1/2 inch diameter hole that deep. And then in the center, on the big candle stick holder, it was set up with a 1 inch a hole for it. So I just have to drill a 1 inch hole down in the center of this piece. Okay, so this doesn't cut the center of the hole if I go straight down with it, so I'll have to pre-drill out to get basically my depth that I'm going to need for these units here. That much depth, and then drill with this. On the center one, it doesn't matter if I put a hole all the way through, and actually it'll be better to have a hole all the way through this, because then I can put glue in it from the bottom when I put the other piece on, and I just have to make sure that my side pieces go down at least this much on here. So I just have to make sure I hit my center, and then check my depth as I go to make sure that I'm hitting my depth. So now that I've got my center with a good tight fit where it's just enough, so when I glue it, it should be very nice and tight in there for that. Now I got to do my outside edges. So that's the method to get these things down. You just have to get your hole deep enough for it to fit into so it can glue in. So I decided to use a little nail to keep myself centered on the base when I go into here. So this will just go on, I'll find my spot, and then I'll tap this nail down in the hole, and then my candle can go up there, come right out in the center. So I got my mark, I can throw some glue on here, and I can nail that all together. First, I'm going to put a coat of varnish that I'm throwing on here. Okay, I think everything's got a coating on here now, so I can assemble and then put another coat of varnish on when it's all assembled and such. Now that I have the piece all nice and pretty here, it's time to put a final coat of varnish on it, and we'll see what it's going to look like when it's done. So in addition to becoming a nice centerpiece for your table with a wreath around it or whatever you want to use it as, you could also use it for the Advent season to light the candles one at a time, 1 week at a time as you went around through Advent.